Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bo-chan.
I'm Nimicum.
I'm Van-chan.
In this class, I'll read all of you a part of Ulysses,
S.
L.
Ulysses, James Joyce. Cloga, 1464. Violin. Free said about a racer he fancied in Stephen D. Babe. Them therefore Langor he had but was now better. He having dreamed tonight a strange fancy of his dame Mrs. Maul with red slippers, and in a pair of turkey trunks which is locked by those in Kingta. Be for a change and Mistress Burford there. That got in through pleading her belly. And now on the stools. Poor body. To this past her term. The midwife sore put to it and can't deliver. She queasy for a bowl of rice slip that is a sure dry up of the insides and her breath very heavy more than good and should be a billy boy from. The ox, they say. But God give her soon issue. 'Tis her ninth chick alive. I hear. And Lady David of her last chick's nails that was then at 12 months end. With other 3 old breastfed that died written out in a fair hand in the King's Bible. Her help 50 odd and a Methodist but takes the sacrament and is to be seen any fair Sabbath with a pair of his boys off Black Harbour dapping on. The sound with a heaver break reel oar and a pantias trailing for flounder. And Pollock and catches a fine bag. I hear. In some an infinite crate full of rain and all refreshed and will much increase. The harvest yet those in Kim say after wind and water fire shall come for. A prognostication of Malachi's almanac, and I hear that Mr. Russell has done a prophetical charm of the same just out of the Hindustanish phrase Farmer's Gazette to harf. 3 things in all, but this a mere fetch without bottom of reason for old. Crones and burns, yet sometimes they are found in the right guess with their queries. No telling how. With this came up Lenehan to the feet of the table to say how the letter was in that night's Gazette, and he made a show to find it about him, for he swore with an oath that he had been a pains about it. But on Stephen's persuasion he gave over the search and was bidden to sit near, by which he did mighty brisk. He was a kind of sport gentleman that went for a manger or honest pickle, and what belonged of women. Horsefush or hot scandal he had it pat. To tell the truth, he was mean in fortunes and for the most part hankered about the coffee houses and low taverns with crimps, ostlers, bookies, Paul's men, runners, blackups, waistcotters, ladies of the bagnio and other rogues of the game, or with a chanceable catchpole, or a tipstaff often at nice to broad day of him he picked up between his sepasets much loose gossip. He took his ordinary at a boiling cooks, and if he had but gotten into him a mess of broken victuals or a plateau of trapes with the bird tester in his purse, he could always bring himself off with his tongue. Some randy quipied from a pancor, why not that every mother's son of them would burst their sides. The other Costello that is. Hearing this talk asked was it poetry or tale. Faith. No. He says. Frank, that was his name. 'Tis all about curry cows that are to be butchered along of the plague. But they can go hanged, says he with a wink. For me with their blue beef. A pox on it. There's as good fish in this tin as ever came out of it, and very friendly, he offered to take up some salty spits that stood by which he had eyed richly in the meantime, and found the place which was indeed the chief design of his embassy, as he was sharp set. What oxfatches, says Frank then in the French language that had been indentured to brandish for that. As a wine lodge in Bordeaux, and he spoke French like a gentleman too. From a child this Frank had been a donut that his father, a head boru, who could all keep him to school to learn his letters and the use of the globes. Matriculated at the university to study the mechanics, but he took the bit between his teeth like a rock hold, and was more familiar with the justiciary and the parish beadle than with his volumes. One time he would be a play actor, then a sattler or a Welshire. The knot would keep him from the beer bit and the cocking maid. Then he was for those shinzy or two fit on the roads with the Romany folks, kidnapping squires by favour of midnight, or ficking maids linen, or choking chicken behind a hedge. He had been off as many times as a cat has lives, and back again, with naked pockets as many more to his father the head boy, who shed a pint of tears as often as he saw him. What? Says Mr. Leopold with his hands across. That was earnest to know the drift of it. Will they sort all? I protest I saw them but this day morning going to the Liverpool boats, says he. I can scarce believe 'tis so bad, says he. And he had experience of the like brood beasts and of springers, crazy hoggets and witherwool, having been some years before actuary for Mr. Joseph Cuff. Away they says Mr. that drove his trade for livestock and meadow auctions hard by Mr. giving those yard in Persia Street. I question with you there, says he. More like 'tis the hoose or the Timberton. Mr. Stephen, a little moved but very handsome, he told him no such matter, and that he had dispatches from the Emperor's chief Tiltacler thanking him for the hospitality that was sending over Dr. Rinderpest, the best-quoted cowcatcher in all Muscovy, with a bolus or two of Pfizer to take the bull by the horns. Come, come, says Mr. Vincent. Plain dealing. He'll find himself on the horns of a dilemma if he meddles with the bull. That's Irish, says he. Irish by name and Irish by nature, says Mr. Stephen. And he sent the hill purling about. An Irish bull in an English china shop. I conceive you, says Mr. Dixon. It is that same bull that was sent to our island by Farmer Nicholas, the bravest cattle breeder of them all, with an emerald ring in his nose. True for you, says Mr. Vincent across the table. And a bull sign to the bargain, says he. And a plumper and a portly bull, says he. Never shit on Sharak. He had horns galore, a coat of cloth of gold, and a sweet smoky breath coming out of his nostrils, so that the women of our island, leaving doubles and rolling pins, followed after him, hanging his villainous in daisy chains. What for that? Says Mr. Dixon. but before he came over from Nicholas that was the eunuch had him properly jilted by a college of doctors who were no better off than himself. So be off now, says he, and do all my cousin German the Lord Harry tells you and take a farmer's blessing. And with it he slapped his posteriors very soundly. But the slap and the blessings did him friend, says Mr. Vincent. For to make up he taught him a trick with two of the other so. That mate. With. I best and widow to this day affirm that they would rather any time of that. Mont was spurred in his ear in the dark of a carrow so get a lick. On the night from his long holy tongue then lie with the finest strapping young. Or Visher in the four fields of all Ireland. Other then put in his word, and they dressed him, says he, in a point shift and petticoat with a tippet and girdle and ruffles on his wrists, and clept his fallock and rubbed him all over with spermacetic oil and belt. Stables for him at every turn of the road with a gold manger in each, full of the best hay in the market so that he could doss and done to his heart's content. By this time the father of the faithful, for so they called him, was grown so heavy that he could scarce walk to pasture. To remedy which our cozening dames and damsels brought him his fodder in their upper naps, and as soon as his belly was full he would rear up on his hind porters to show their ladyships the mystery, and roaring bellow out of him in bull's language, and they all after him. Says another, and so pampered was he that he would suffer naught to grow in all the land but green grass for himself, for that was the only colour to his mind. And there was a board put up on a hillock in the middle of the island with a printed notice, saying, by the Lord Harry, green is the grass that grows on the ground. And says Mr. Dixon, if ever he got scent of a cattle raider in Roscommon or the wilds of Connemara, or a husbandman in Sligo that was sowing as much as a handful of mustard, or a bag of rapeseed out, he'd run amok over half the countryside rooting up with his horns whichever was planted and all by Lord Harry's orders. There was bad blood between them at first, says Mr. Vincent, and the Lord Harry called for Nicholas all the old licks in the world, and an old warmister that kept 7 trolls in his house and now meddle in his matters, says he. I'll make that in a most small hall, says he, with the help of that good bosom my father left me. But one evening, says Mr. Dixon, when the Lord Harry was cleaning his royal pot to go to dinner after winning a boat race, he had spade oars for himself, but the first rule of the course was that the others were to row, with which Foxy discovered in himself a wonderful likeness to Bull, and on picking up a black thumbed chapbook that he kept in the pantry, he found sure enough that he was a left-handed descendant of the famous champion bull of the Romans, Wasbottom, which is good bog Latin for boss of the show. After that, says Mr. Vincent, the Lord Harry put his head into a cow's drinking tree in the presence of all his courtiers, and pulling it out again told them all his new name. Then, with the water running off him, he got into an old smock and skirt that had belonged to his grandmother, and bought a grammar of the bull's language to study, but he could never learn a word of it except the first personal pronoun, which he copied out big and got off by heart, and if ever he went out for a walk he filled his pockets with chalk to write it upon what took his fancy, the side of a rock or a tea-house table or a bale of cotton or a cork float. In short, he and the Bull of Ireland were soon as fast friends as an arse and the shirt. They were, says Mr. Stephen. And the end was that the men of the island, seeing no help was toward, as though great women were all of one mind, made a weary raft, loaded themselves and their bundles of chattels on shipboard, set almost erect, mind the yards, sprang their luff, heaved to, spread 3 sheets in the wind, put her head between wind and water, weighed anchor, ported her helm, ran up the Jolly Roger, heaved 3 times 3, let the budgeon run, fished off in their bumboat and put to sea to recover the main of America. Poor Peter's but a pizzed. A man's a man for that. Our worthy acquaintance Mr. Malachi Mulligan now appeared in the doorway as the students were finishing their apologue, accompanied with the friend whom he had just encountered, a young gentleman, his name McBannon, who had late come to town, it being his intention to buy a colour or a cornetcy in the Finspools, and this for the wars. Mr. Mulligan was civil enough to express some relish of it all the more as he jumped with a project of his own for the cure of the very evil that had been touched on. Whereat he handed round to the company a set of pasty-board cards which he had printed that day at Mr. Quinnell's bearing a legend printed in ferritics, Mr. Malachi Mulligan, fertilizer and incubator, Lambay Island. His project, as he went on to expand, was to withdraw from the round of idle pleasures such as from the chief business of Sir Fopping Popinjay and Sir Mulksop Goodnan Kintan, and to devote himself to the noblest task for which our bodily organism has been framed. Well, that is here of it. Good my friend, said Mr. Dixon. I make no doubt it smacks of wenching. Come, be seated. With 'tis as cheap sitting as standing. Mr. Mulligan accepted of the invitation and, expatiating upon his design, told his hearers that he had been led into this thought by a consideration of the causes of sterility, both the inhibitory and the prohibitory, whether the inhibition in its turn were due to conjugal vexations or to parsimony, of the balance, as well as whether the prohibition proceeded from defects congenital or from proclivities acquired. It grieved him plaguily, he said, to see the nuptial cash defrauded of its dearest pledges, and to reflect upon so many agreeable females with rich jointures, a prey to the vile sponses, who hide their flambeau under a bushel in an uncongenial cloister, or lose their womanly bloom in the embraces of some unaccountable muskin, when they might multiply the innets of avarice, sacrificing the inestimable jewel of their sex when 100 pretty fellows were at hand to curse. That, he assured them, made his heart weep. To curb this inconvenience, which he concluded due to a suppression of latent heat, having advised with certain counsellors of worth and inspected into this matter, he had resolved to purchase in fee simple forever the freehold of Lambay Island from its holder, Lord Talbot de Malahide. a Tory gentleman of not much in favour with our ascendancy party. He proposed to set up there a national fertilising farm to be in fellows with. An obelisk hewn and erected after the fashion of Egypt, and to offer his dutiful human services for the fecundation of any female of what grade of life soever who should there direct to him with the desire of fulfilling the functions of her natural. Money was no object, he said, nor would he take a penny for his pains. The poorest kitchen went no less than the opulent lady of fashion, if so be their constructions and their tempers were warm persuaders for their petitions, would find in him their men. For his nutriment he shewed how he would fit himself exclusively upon a diet of savoury tubercles and fish and kidneys there, the flesh of these latter prolific rodents being highly recommended for his purpose, both broiled and stewed with a blade of mace and a pod or two of capsicum chilies. After this homily, which he delivered with much warmth of asseveration, Mr. Mulligan, in a trice, put off from his hat a kerchief with which he had shielded it. They both, it seems, had been overtaken by the rain, and for all their mending their pace had taken Warto, as might be observed by Mr. Mulligan's small clothes of a hodden grey, which was now somewhat piebald. His project meanwhile was very favourably entertained by his auditors, and won hearty eulogies from although Mr. Dixon of Murray's accepted to it, asking with a finicking air did he purpose also to carry coals to Newcastle. Mr. Mulligan, however, made court to the scholarly by an apt quotation from the classics, which, as it wrought upon his memory, seemed to him a sound and tasteful support of his contention tallies actented to parvatio, huge seculi, ocrates, at matris samilirum nostra lascivisci slight semiviri libicid titillations destibus ponderosis et quixosis erectionibus centrianum romanorum. Magno brand ponant. While for those of ruder wit he drove home his point by analogies of the animal kingdom more suitable to their stomach. The buck and doe of the first clade, the farmer are drake and duck. Valuing himself not a little upon his elegance, being indeed a proper man of person, this ductive now applied himself to his dress with animate visions of some heat upon the sudden whimsy of the atmospherics, while the company lavished their encomiums upon the project he had advanced. To be continued.